I woke up to the sound of someone breathing in my bedroom. Heavy, slow, deliberate. I froze, my eyes darting toward the door. But the sound wasn't coming from there. It was coming from right beside my bed. What would you do if you opened your eyes in the middle of the night and realized someone else was in your room when you live completely alone? My life had been normal until that night. Too normal? Maybe? I was 26, living alone in a small apartment I could barely afford, working a boring office job. My routine was predictable. Wake up, work, come home, eat, scroll Reddit, sleep. Every day blurred into the next. And honestly, the monotony made me crave something unusual, something exciting. But I wasn't prepared for what I got. It started small, almost unnoticeable. I'd hear footsteps above my ceiling, even though I lived on the top floor. My closet door would creak open by itself, but only when I turned the lights off. And sometimes, late at night, I'd feel this pressure in the air, like the atmosphere in the room was heavier, watching me. Then came the dreams. They were vivid, unsettling, more real than anything I'd ever experienced. In them, I'd be lying in bed, while something stood in the corner of the room, whispering in a language I didn't understand. I could never see its face, only its silhouette, tall and bent at unnatural angles. It never moved toward me, but every night it whispered closer. At first, I told myself it was stress. Everyone dreams. Everyone has sleep paralysis sometimes. But then I noticed something strange. Every time I woke up from those dreams, the clock read the exact same time, 3:12 a.m. It didn't matter when I went to sleep. I could pass out at 9 p.m. or 2 a.m., but somehow I'd always wake up at 3:12. And worse, the whispers never stayed in my dreams. One night, I woke to that same soft, hissing sound. But my eyes were wide open, and I was fully awake. The whisper wasn't in my head. It was in my room. I forced myself not to move, not to breathe. My entire body was screaming at me to run. But I was trapped, pinned by fear. Slowly, I turned my eyes toward the sound. The corner of my room was dark, but I could swear the shadows were moving, shifting, like someone was standing there, watching, whispering my name. Daniel! I jumped, fumbling for the lamp, but when I switched it on, the corner was empty. Just my chair, my laundry, my stupid stack of unread books. Nothing else. I told myself it was exhaustion. Maybe even a hypnagogic hallucination. That's what the internet calls those weird visions when you're between waking and sleeping. But deep down, I knew this was different. This was real. I tried to record it. I set my phone on my nightstand, hit record, and waited. At 3:12, right on schedule, the whisper came again. Long, slow, almost taunting. My blood went cold. But I forced myself not to move. I let it play out, desperate to have proof. When I checked the recording the next morning, my stomach dropped. The audio was there, but it wasn't just whispers. It was my voice, over and over, whispering my own name. That's when the line between reality and nightmare started to blur. My reflection began acting strangely. I'd catch myself in the mirror, and for a split second, it wouldn't move the same way I did. Once, I swear, I saw it smiling while I wasn't. I stopped looking too long in mirrors after that. Then there were the objects. Things weren't where I left them. My keys on the counter would end up in the bathroom sink. My shoes by the door would be neatly lined up by my bed. My fridge magnets would spell out words nonsense at first. Until one night, I opened it and saw a chilling message spelled out in red letters. Let me in. That night, I didn't sleep at all. I started confiding in my best friend, Mark, but he laughed it off. Said I'd been reading too many You've got Reddit. Brain rot, he joked. But when I invited him to stay the night, he wasn't laughing anymore. Around 3 a.m., I shook him awake. Terrified, the whispering had already started. He sat up, rubbing his eyes, annoyed. until he heard it too. His face went pale. We both stared at the corner of the room, where the shadow seemed thicker, darker than the rest of the space. The whisper grew louder, and then it stopped. Dead silence. We sat frozen, waiting. Nothing. Finally, Mark muttered, "Screw this, man," and went back to sleep on the couch. I stayed awake until sunrise, trembling, staring at the corner. The next morning, Mark left without saying much. Later that day, he texted me, "I don't know what's happening in your apartment, but don't call me again. Ever." That was the last I heard from him. After that, I was alone again. Completely alone. The entity, whatever it was, grew bolder. At night, I'd feel weight on my bed, like someone was lying down beside me. I'd hear breathing directly against my ear, warm and steady, though no one was there. And then, the worst night of my life came. It was exactly 3:12 when I woke up, pinned to my bed. Not sleep paralysis, I could move my hands, my legs, but something was holding me down. Invisible hands pressed into my chest, my arms, my throat. I couldn't breathe. I gasped for air, thrashing violently, when suddenly the shadows in the corner of my room stretched, reaching toward me like tendrils. Out of the dark, a face emerged. My own. It leaned down over me, grinning with a mouth too wide, teeth too sharp. It whispered in my voice, "Daniel, you let me in?" Everything went black. When I woke up, it was morning. I was lying on the floor, not my bed. My body was covered in scratches. My phone lay shattered beside me. The recording app still open, but the file corrupted. That was 2 weeks ago. I left the apartment the next day. I thought leaving would stop it. I thought I could escape, but I was wrong. Now I'm staying at my sister's house, miles away. And yet, every single night, no matter where I am, I wake up at 3:12 a.m. on the first night here. My sister told me she heard me whispering in my sleep, whispering her name. And last night, she shook me awake, terrified. She said she found me standing in the corner of her bedroom, smiling, watching her sleep. So, tell me, what do you think is happening to me? Did something crawl out of those walls and take my place? Or was it always inside me, waiting for the right moment to surface? And if you ever wake up at exactly 3:12 a.m. and you hear your own voice whispering your name from the shadows, would you dare to answer?